Hello, welcome to another episode of Building a Leadership Mindset podcast. I'm your host, Nikki C., all the way from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, as we always do, bringing you some amazing individuals that we meet or that I meet throughout my journey of entrepreneurship in different communities, different platforms, different Facebook groups, and you will not be disappointed with this guest. I just met her a couple weeks ago. We had a chat, and I knew that her story had to be shared and the amazing things that she's doing. But before we bring on our guest, we want to send a super welcome to everyone tuning in. As always, our grand supporters, we absolutely love you, and we would love to highlight our sponsors as well. And that is one, Jose Escobar with the Connected Leaders Academy, and we have Patrick Rude with the Dirty Little Secret Society. He is our tax wizard, giving us all the goods about taxes, as well as Julie and Noah with Breathe Capital Planning, who is an amazing duo with getting your money right and making it work for you. So if you have any questions on our sponsors, you can always go to our website at www.buildingaleadershipmindset.com, learn about them and connect with them if you have any questions on any of those topics. So we have some amazing things going on. We just closed out our last virtual event for 2023, which was our online business mindset mania. And we were talking about reasons, seasons, and lifetime. And that was just a powerful close to 2023. But we are definitely full steam ahead for 2024. Check out our website soon for those dates and how you can get involved in everything that Bomb Global is doing. Our tour, our She Leads retreat for women in August of 2024. We have some amazing new things. I am going to just share and continue to grow this community where we are going to continue to change people's lives and build leaders globally. Thank you again for tuning in. And our amazing special guest we have today, she's Chante Dent, and is a personal development and executive coach and a certified emotional intelligence and psychological safety workshop facilitator and coach with the Blue EQ, serving national and international companies in multiple industries, including Fortune 50. She is also the founding principal of her namesake firm, whose mission is to empower women to control what controls them so they can have a purposeful, productive, and powerful life. Her private coaching program, EQ Wives, helps women in business and busyness create thriving marriages. As a survivor of sexual trauma and learned early on that she had to take good care of herself if she wanted her marriage to flourish, she decided to heal emotionally, love earnestly, which led to a lifestyle of living freely from anything that hindered her marriage from prospering. She published and released her first book, My Lemonade Recipe, turning lives sour experiences into something sweet, in 2018. Ooh, that just gave me chills. In which she shares a firsthand experience of healing from sexual trauma. Chante is a proud alumna of California State University, Easy Bay, and her work has not gone unnoticed. In 2018, her alma mater recognized her as one of their 40 under 40. I love that. Chantel is also active in her community, serving as a committee member of her children's PTSA. She's currently resides with her husband and their two children in Metro Atlanta. Oh my goodness. Without further ado, let's get this a beautiful new friends of mine and sister, Chante. How are you, love?
Nikki, hey, I am doing amazing. How are you doing?
I am well. I am well. It's the beginning of the week. Everybody hates Mondays. I've always loved Mondays. Mondays has been absolutely phenomenal for me. It just kickstarts. Now, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday kind of just gets thrown all over the place.
Yes. But look, thank God it's Monday. Thank God I'm alive.
Yes. And you know what? I was just going for my 75 hard walk, and that is the first thing I
Mhm.
said. I did a reel for my team and just told them that, I have lung in my breath. I mean,
Yeah.
I have breath in my
Breath in
lungs, the other way
lungs. I
around,
hear
right?
you, I hear you. Yeah.
Yes, all that good stuff. And we have stories to tell. So tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and how did you get to where you are today?
All right. Well, Nikki, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here, connect and collaborate with you today. I currently live in Georgia, as you mentioned. So I'm a Cali girl turned Georgia peach. Been here for about 14 years now. But I truly miss the Cali weather and the beaches. My gosh, it's irreplaceable. Nonetheless, I'm enjoying life here with my family, my husband and our children. So I'm this person who's, I say, I've been through some things, and I feel like we have people who've gone through different situations in life, and oftentimes we get ourselves together and we keep it moving and we live incredible lives. Others who, they go through events and they don't quite get back on track. And that's the heartbreaking area where they struggle. And then there's the category that I fall into where I've experienced some, highs and lows in life, but I try to make it a point to incorporate everything that I've gone through, to first walk through it on my own and then make myself available. Like, how can I incorporate this lesson or, this part of my life? How does this create my purpose? What does this have to do with my calling? And what does that look like? And so I feel like my eyes are always wide open, and I'm attuned to how do my experiences come together, make me who I am when it comes to my relationships and my business and entrepreneurship. So there is definitely a lot to be told. I'm sure we'll get a little bit, into those details, but really didn't. It's just me being a woman who's been through highs and lows of life, but I've made it a point to intentionally heal, recover, bounce back, all of the above, to enjoy the life that I live today and continuously serve other people as well.
Yes. Oh my goodness. When we chatted the other day or last week, I was just so moved by, what you went through, what you endured, how you overcame. And it was definitely so powerful. And when you get in these connections on these one-on-one calls, just kind of building true, authentic
Mhm.
relationships, let me tell you that the synergy was so strong. I was like, oh my goodness, I can't wait to see
Yes.
what this leads to. And this is always the first step, getting your story out there, and it's important. So tell us a little bit about, as much or as little you want to tell
Yeah.
us about some of that trauma, some of those things that
Mhm.
you encountered. You don't have to go into detail,
Yeah.
but some of
Yeah.
those things that you encountered, and at what point did you find out that this was really taking over your life, and how you wanted
Mhm.
to turn that story around?
Yeah. It's a spread out. It's a lot of situations that manifest it, but the initial manifestation of trauma was in my childhood between 5 and 8 years old, where there was sexual trauma, sexual violation, and it was accompanied with threats. It took place, but I was told and threatened, like, you better not say anything. And so there became this natural response to keep secrets and to not share and not disclose. And unfortunately, when you're not able to talk about it, you're suppressing and it's festering, and whatever that manifestation looks like, and it's different for everyone, it is what it is. And so that was a part of my childhood that clearly carried into the teenage years, young adult years, where I was thankful enough to have a loving family, within my inner circle, and stable in my foundation with my faith and church and etc. But that did not negate or erase the underlying issues in terms of this aftermath of childhood sexual trauma. So this was layered years later in my early 20s when I experienced acquaintance rape, and that resulted in a pregnancy. And it was a lot of weight to carry because second nature, don't talk about it. Like, I'm reverting back to little Chante. You don't talk about this. It happened. You're going to be okay. You're going to figure out how you fix this and keep it moving. And that became my defense mechanism. How do you fix this? How do you make it so that when you leave this environment, you're going to be okay? Whatever that looks like, fill in the blank so you could be okay. And I thought I did it, and I thought I did it well, until sometime later I realized I'm pregnant from that experience. And that's when everything was revealed. And I feel like everything, all that I was experiencing internally, it was now being expressed externally. And that was a huge game changer for my life because I was forced to deal with it, to address it. And in many occasions, I realized I could have stayed in that space of, okay, well, even though it's out there, I can still choose to stay, behind the scenes and close that curtain and sweep it under the rug and keep on keeping on. But I realized, girl, you've been doing that for too long. It's not fun. It's not easy. It's a lot of work, wearing different masks. Got to the point where I realized I can't move forward in my life without processing this pain. You know, truth is, Nikki, I didn't even know really how to process the pain, but I knew I had to get it out of me. It's something about suffering in silence. I always say, there are times when people can't really see it. I mean, they might see it, on one way or another, but overall, they don't see it, but you continuously feel it. And I was like, I don't like how I feel. It doesn't feel good. I want to be free. And so over a series of events, take time to go through that process. But I realized if I wanted to experience a life, like really enjoy it, and I need to work through some things. And so that's where I began that intentional journey so that I could heal and recover.
Wow. And what did that intentional journey look like? What was well, obviously the prime reason was for you to be free from this that was
Mhm.
holding you back, right? But what was the prime mechanism that you used to help you through that?
Yeah. So the first moment for me was, gosh, this realization that in my heart and in my mind, I had this visualization of who I wanted to be. And I believe that was my pull. And as I talk about it now, like internally in my heart, I'm like, "Ooh, that was a heavy day for me," because in the midst of a lot of brokenness, I could see the healed version of Chante. And she was so far away, but there was something going on inside of me that said, "I know you're there. I'm not sure how I'm gonna reach you, but I'm gonna do everything." It was like this personal commitment. I'm going to do everything, like whatever it takes to fight through and fight for freedom to get to wherever you are, I'm coming. And so there was this inner desire. There was a visualization of who I knew I wanted to be, even though I felt ill equipped. I'll never be able to be that woman, who had this dream or this goal. Like specifically, I felt doomed. Okay. But, big picture, but she's still there. I just need to figure out how to find her, how to get to her again. And so it began with that realization that I knew it was in me. She's still there. We just need to figure out how to get through the rubble and the debris, right? That was the first step. And then there were a lot of practical steps where I needed to identify my inner circle, the individuals, the professionals, meaning the therapist, the rape crisis counselor, my inner circles, family members, friends, who can I trust with my pain? Who can I trust with my story? Who's not going to judge me? Because I don't even understand this myself, So the last thing I need is somebody judging me for what I did or didn't do and all the things. That was the first step. I learned that early on because, I'm a pretty open and social person. So I'm just like, you want to help me? Okay, come help me. You want to know? Okay, come. But then I got, hurt because, you just couldn't trust people. And maybe some people, rightfully so, just didn't have the capacity to handle. So I learned that early on as well, to define my inner circle, who's going to be my support system, because I can't do this on my own. I don't want to do this on my own. So I had to identify who would be in that inner circle to, encourage me along this way. And I had some pretty amazing people alongside of me, gosh, that really did encourage me through the most difficult experience of my life. But it began with me making a choice, being intentional. I didn't know what it was going to look like. My gosh, this journey might be crazy, but I'm going through the crazy to get through, to get to that place of freedom.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah.
God. So powerful. And you said there were some challenges, but I love that you said
Mhm.
that you intentionally build your inner circle. And you did some trial and errors because it sounds like, there were some people that you trusted that you then later found out that, okay, they weren't the fit for your journey. And that's okay. You still have to, some people, we just lock everybody out, right? And we're just keep it inside. We try to do it ourselves. And that's actually one of my chapters in my book, Building a Leadership Mindset. And this is more on the business building side, right? But it goes hand in hand. Like, you can't do this by yourself. Any journey that you're on, whether it's a healing journey, whether it's a growth journey, you still have to have an inner circle, a group of individuals that you can trust. Some may make the cut, some may not. So thank you so much for shedding that light, because I think people need to understand that they cannot do this themselves, as they should not do this themselves. Absolutely. Right? Everybody has some strength and weakness that we don't have, that we can either fill in for them and they can fill in for us. And that's the point. So I love that. Now, just tell me, like, what are some of the challenges during that journey? Even though you were finding yourself, you made a choice to be intentional, but was there any time that you kind of fell back and said, shoot, I may not make it through this? And how did that look like?
Absolutely. There were a lot of ups and downs. I was on that emotional roller coaster. I always say I love amusement parks. I take my kids all the time, but that's one ride I never want to get back on again, that emotional roller coaster. Oh my goodness, Nikki. There were so many seasons where, even when I talk about, the pregnancy, where the end result was this beautiful, innocent baby girl was placed for an open adoption. But even in that season, I'm going through this layer of trying to heal from sexual trauma. And now, and then there's this pregnancy. And when you talk about this, the difficult seasons, there were seasons where I was like, okay, I have the grace. I can raise this child and be the best mom ever. And then there were seasons where I'm just like, oh no, I can't even touch my stomach today, But there were times where, the ups and downs, where my first session in the therapy with the psychology, so I'm sitting in this waiting room. Gosh, I was with my sister. She took me, and I thought, let's go. She said, what? Let's do what? Let's go. I'm like, yeah. I talked to the police about this. I talked to the nurse. Why am I here? Just to talk to her? And I'm pissed off right now. I'm like, just to talk to her about what happened to me all over again. I'm tired of talking about him. So my sister's looking at me like, oh, Jesus. And, she honored my request. She took me home. And I'll never forget this life-changing conversation with my mom. She says, okay, I understand it's tough, but here's the deal, Chante. If you don't go back to that therapist, if you don't deal with it, if you don't talk about it, you'll carry this. And it's essentially, she's saying that's not going to work out well for your life, for your future. And so one of the hardest decisions was, even though I knew it was going to help me work through this pain and this process, meeting with a rape crisis counselor, meeting with a therapist, I knew how beneficial it was, but I just like, I don't know if I really want to do this, because think about it. We're opening this door again. Something I wanted to push away and suppress and just move forward as if it never happened. But then I realized denial leads to destruction. Mm-hmm. I don't want my life destroyed by this painful experience. I know that I have the ability to overcome. And I also mentioned, I mentioned my parents, my family being a huge anchor for me. My dad, he made another statement. He says, Chante, this can make you bitter or it can make you better. And so in the midst of my mental and emotional state of not really wanting to go through that process, because it can be painful, it takes work and stamina and perseverance to say, I'm going to deal with this issue so I can heal. I'm going to face it. I'm going to feel it because I want to be free from it. Like that's work. It's not magical. There are a lot of tools. Obviously, there's prayer, there's meditation, depending on who you are and what your source of strength is. Absolutely. You gather all of those tools and resources. At the end of the day, there's still a level of work that you have to do. And so there were days that I was discouraged because of the rumors. I mean, I'm very realistic about my story. If you read my book, you have a conversation with me about the details of it. Oh, so you mean to tell me you were raped? But you didn't talk about it. But you didn't say anything. Oh, but when you realized you were pregnant, then you wanted to talk about it. I mean, I'm very realistic about the world we live in. And so that in and of itself was hurtful.
Mm,
Why the heck would I lie about something like this? Do you, if I were pregnant, I'd rather be pregnant from a oops, I did it again. I'd rather
mm,
tell that story.
wow.
But come on now,
Hard.
and I don't know about you, but after you suppress for so long, I'm tired of suppressing. This is the
Mm,
truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. If you don't want to believe it, that's on you. But I have to live my truth so that I can experience freedom. My God, that's a whole nother level of thinking. And so I had to just force myself to say, you got this, Chante. You have people who are rooting for you. And as a believer of Christ, my anchor was my relationship with the Lord. And so I'm having to, what does the word say about this? I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I remember reading Bible scriptures and I thought, man, all right, I grew up in church, but here's where the rubber meets the road. If all of that stuff is true, let's go.
mhm.
The miracles I read about, the power of God, the Spirit of God that lives in me, it's time to let that light shine on another level.
Absolutely. I 100,000% agree with everything you said. And even just speaking to you on this story in more detail when we were chatting, I'm still getting chills
Mm.
because, and I'm still learning about you as well and about your journey and the tenacity and
Mm.
perseverance and all that you hold today because of the trauma. And unfortunately, some of us go through something so bad
Mm.
to get our message out that's going to help others. And we're going to go into exactly how this has changed your life, being open and finally telling your story. We'll be right back. We're going to listen to one of our sponsors and we'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world, globally, all across the country, high performers, titans of industry. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, this is where you want to be. Join the Connected Leaders Academy today. We are scaling massively. We want to welcome you in. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JASCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
Hello, hello. We are back with Chante Dent. She's absolutely has been inspiring us to really think about when we're deciding to share our story or not. And let's go into this segment with what has been the what's the word you want to call it? What has been the product that has been birth through this process. So tell us about your book, about your services and what you do today, as well as your EQ Wise program, because
Mhm.
so needed right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So there was a process that I believe worked out well, and it has manifested, in my lifestyle. I'm real big about, you practice what you preach, and so everything that I do comes from all that I've experienced. The book will address that first. My lemonade recipe: turning life sour experiences into something sweet. Uh, Having lunch with someone and sharing my story with them, and the initial comment was, "Wow, your story sounds like the perfect lemonade recipe." And I thought, well, daggone it, I think I just got the title of the book. And so I realized, yeah, that's actually what it was. It was multiple ingredients: the good, the bad, the sweet, the sour. At the end of the day, my ingredients, and I'm all right. God, I surrender to you. What ingredients are you adding to this lemonade? I need that for sure. And so all of those ingredients, I, just wholehearted believe allows me to create this sweet, refreshing glass of lemonade. And my life is me sharing that glass of lemonade with people that I come in contact with, whether it's business, personal, professional. And yes, this story just unfolds, this book unfolds what that experience was like for me, the hurtful, the pain, the process, the purpose. And there are just few key points that I highlight, separating the child from the trauma. That has helped me over the years. And sometimes it takes me a little longer depending on the experience, but it helps me to separate purpose from pain in anything, and to nurture, the good of it. And so even when I was pregnant, understanding the importance of my emotional health, how that would weigh and take a toll on this unborn child. And so I'm like, all right, I'm in it with you. And I'm walking and talking to this child. I'm talking to this child. I'm talking to her while I'm going through, like, we're in this together. And so that taught me about love in a deeper capacity. Like, I could love her and release her in love. And as I mentioned, it's an open adoption. And so that's a beautiful exchange that continues, my God, continues to blow my mind to this day. The pain of my experience taught me how to process. To this day, I don't suppress. That's been ingrained in me. I don't suppress. It's not an option. It's no longer an option. You talk about it, you deal with it, you face it, you figure it out, but you're not going to hold it in. And then the purpose, it better prepared me for motherhood, for being a wife, for in my friendships, in my relationships. And in terms of how it all comes together as an entrepreneur, I did start a nonprofit early on. I knew that even as a rape crisis counselor, that was incredible work. I also wanted to have a bit more freedom and flexibility in terms of how I offered services and created curriculums to survivors of sexual trauma. And so it helped me in a great deal, creating this nonprofit and offering services here in Georgia, partnering with the Gwinnett County Health and Human Resources Center. And that was an incredible opportunity. And so if I fast forward in terms of where it's brought me today, and it's an interesting journey because I feel like my business often mirrors my personal life, where I had gone through this healing from sexual trauma, healing from that pain, the emotional wounds, and providing services through the nonprofit to help others cross over to the other side. And I realized, even in the midst of healing from sexual trauma and all that comes with it, there was an area in my life that was untouched. And it hit me like a ton of bricks because I had gone through an unfortunate situation with a friend. And I was honestly, Nikki, confused at the outcome because it was, unfortunate. Some things were said and done. And in my hurt, in my form of expression, I was misunderstood. And I'm the kind of person where my favorite question growing up was why? Like, I want to understand why this, why that. And at the end of the day, why can't we all just get along, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this situation brought me to a point of deep thought. And I really spent time pondering, number one, what did I do wrong and what could I have done differently? I want to always be open and, teachable. And after I went through that moment, I thought, okay, well, what's really going on with you, Chante? Like, of this situation, of the outcome, what's really bothering you? And when I took time to ponder and be honest about it, I said, my gosh, a couple of things are bothering me here. Number one, I'm bothered that I'm not bouncing back as quickly as I desire. Like, I'm bothered that I'm so hurt by what was done. Like, why am I so hurt about that? I felt emotionally unstable. And that bothered me because I'm like, girl, you've been through some things. You've overcome this, that, and the other. Why are you still, what's going on here? And the other part that bothered me, was a bit difficult to let go, is I generally have the mindset, like, and I get that, I know I got this, growing up as a child, like our dad, he taught us, in terms of how we communicate with people. And so I never understood, like, why do people yell at people? Like, why are people so mean? And that bothered me. So there are these two things, like, why do people talk crazy to people? Like, it's not nice. I understand life isn't perfect and people need correction and order, but there is a way. So coupled with that and me not settling well, that I was so emotionally distraught, I thought, well, what does this mean for you, Chante? What does it mean for you today? And what does it mean for your future? So a couple of things manifested. I had to go into my own research mode. Okay, how can I get better in this area? Because I don't want to become that person we talked about earlier. You're so hurt and resentful, you create brick walls instead of healthy boundaries. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going back into that deep, dark cave again. And so what can I develop? And I like to be very specific. What can I specifically develop so I can grow and not have to go through that again? Because there'll be other times where I'm hurt by words and actions. So I learned that I needed to become more resilient, that I needed to tap into my emotional intelligence, which allowed me to take my healing. I'm healed from an emotional wound, but if that wound is still tender, and it might not be related to sexual trauma, it's a wound, it's tender, it doesn't matter who touches it, it's going to poke me, hurt me, and I'll feel it. Well, how do I strengthen that area of my life? Okay, I need to become more resilient. And every component of emotional intelligence wasn't my issue, but there were some areas that I needed to increase emotional stability. Okay. And that was an incredible process. I actually enjoyed it, taking a deep dive into learning how can I grow in this area, which led me to Blue EQ. So I'm pairing this passion of mine with corporate America, becoming a facilitator, a coach with Blue EQ. And it was even more of a process and a beautiful journey for me. So I'm applying it personally, and I get this opportunity to incorporate it on a professional platform. And after connecting with Blue EQ, where I'm still connected with them and absolutely love giving Blue EQ shout outs, incredible organization, incredible company. And so now what you see me doing today is unfolding EQ Wives, because I realized that there are a lot of people, but I can't help everybody, but I know who I'm called to. So I can work in corporate America, working with men and women in different leaders and different levels and capacities. But when it comes to my private, personal stuff, that's where, my goodness, I'll do cartwheels. Call me at 3 a.m. Let's go. I'm ready. Let's have a conversation about this. And so I realized as a person, period, but as a woman, our level of influence is incredible. And I am married to an incredible, spectacular man. And the last thing I want to do, even in his imperfection, right? But the last thing I want to do is be that wife, because we all know the women who, that wife. I'm not going to nag. I'm not going to taint him with my insecurities and my emotional wounds. So how can I better serve him? So when I step up in my areas of emotional intelligence, I'm doing it for me, because now I feel even more empowered in my skin. But man, he's looking like, whoo, look at my wife. What you say now? And so our marriage elevates. And even now, I'm just like, God, you are so good, because of implementing these tools, it's benefiting my life, my role as a mom, my relationship with my children, and then my relationship with my husband, our level of communication, our cohesiveness. It's beautiful. I can't complain. I'm so thankful. But it happened because I knew I had to do the work. I couldn't blame him or them or anybody else. When I did the work, I began to see change in every area of my life. And I'm saying, if this happened through me and to me, how can I serve another woman, another wife who's struggling where I struggle? Because we have passion and tenacity, and I could be that stay-at-home wife and mom who kicks her feet up and says life is good, but I'm like, nah, there's more to me than that. Let's go. I'm an entrepreneur by default. My daddy's an entrepreneur, like it's in my blood. Let's go. What's next? And so yes, coaching and being that certified counselor years ago, that's evolved to coaching and supporting individuals. I want people to become their best selves, and my particular niche is basically rooted in healing the emotional wound so that you can be that high achiever, that higher performer who's well-rounded. Not because you're running away from pain, but because you have gone through that process of healing any underlying issue, and now you show up as a powerful, influential, empowering wife, and that spreads into your personal environment, your professional environment. And think about this, Nikki, in this day and age, women are rising to the top like never before. So why not become more equipped as we rise into these levels of leadership outside of our homes, in our homes and outside of our homes? We don't want to be the emotionally wounded woman, or, you know, there's so many components and facets of a woman, and they're beautiful. I also believe it's important that we have this healthy balance so we can be respected when we're speaking, so we can be more influential, and people are gravitated toward us. They want to sit under us and walk with us and learn from us, not simply because we are, you know, high performers in and of itself. That's great. Or because of what we look like. That's great. All these external components are incredible. We need it. I am saying, hold on. Before we go any further, pause. Have we dealt with the internal? And if you have, let's go. Keep it going. But if not, come on. I have something for you. Let's go.
I love it. I love it. What a rock star attitude for just, again, the resiliency. I'm glad that you tapped into when you were aware that something else was an issue.
Yeah.
We researched it. We figured it out. We found a way. We didn't complain about it. We didn't stay in our muck. That's the tools that we need to continue to add to our toolbox. Now, we don't want to add it, and I was going to curse, but we don't want to add it when the stuff hits the fan, right? We want to have it available before it hits there, so it never has to.
Absolutely.
So I love everything you said. You said a few things that I just wanted to kind of shout out and repeat for our listeners. Denial leads to destruction. Stop denying what you've been through. Stop denying the fact to tell your story and the fact that you are here for a purpose, and whatever your mess looks like, it's time to get it out and find the ways. And if you're not sure how to be led that way, there's coaches, Chante, myself, and so many others waiting to serve you in whatever area that is. And I love when you said that your dad asked you, you can either be bitter or better. I've never heard anyone wake up and say, I want to be bitter. Right. We're always saying, I want to be better. So I love, shout outs to Dad for that. Always find ways to be better all day, every day, because we can and we deserve it. And give yourself grace. I love that you mentioned grace a lot as well. Separate purpose from pain. Pain will always come and it will always go. But it's for a purpose. What that looks like, we still have to dig into that. And I love that you continue to do it. Thank you so much again. And I told you this on our one-on-one conversation, that you took what your experience has happened to you and you helped so many through becoming a rape crisis counselor. But then you went a step further and you said, hey, what else more can I do? And I just want you to go into a little bit of sharing why EQ Wives was, you know, I know you explain it, but was there anything in your internal marriage that you said, okay, this is what I have to do. This is what I can do. What were some challenges that kind of woke you up again in this space?
Yes, so there were areas in my life where I still experienced a little insecurity. It would pop its head up occasionally. And I learned that it was wearing on my husband, you know. It was wearing on him, and we're able to talk, you know, openly to one another. And I respect that he could share, you know, how whatever I was going through, you know, it could take a toll on him. And so there were seasons of my marriage, particularly early on, but I realized I was like pulling on him and for unrealistic needs, you know, areas that he just really wasn't capable of fulfilling for me. And so I knew that I had to get into this place of, you know, who are you? You love your husband, but, you know, like, who are you without him by your side? And I knew that a lot of my insecurities had to be dealt with. And as I mentioned earlier, I could be a superstar in one area, but there were other areas I had to really examine and say, Chante, you need to do better here. And so there were a lot of back to these emotional wounds that were just unresolved issues, and they would manifest in other areas. And so when they manifest, I kind of run to him with the issue and run to him with the problem. And his mindset, he's logical. He's like, okay, I see the problem, I see the person. Let's eliminate it. Just eliminate it and keep it moving. And I'm like, no, you can't just eliminate it and keep it moving. How are we going to actually work through it? And then if we could reconcile, why not reconcile? And so I realized, as much as I love my husband, as a wife, EQ wives, there are areas in situations and in certain matters that we have to handle on our own. We should handle on our own, not put that burden on our husband. And it goes both ways. Like the last thing we want to do as a wife is become explosive and run our husband away. But we also want to be careful not to be so passive to where we're, shutting down and closing our husbands off and not being open and connected to our spouses. It can go either way depending on, who you are and what your personality trait is, So I had to learn, and this again, where a lot of the components of EQ wives were birthed from, me realizing that even as husband and wife, we're one and we're constantly becoming one. I am still Chante. Period. And who am I as a woman, as a wife? And furthermore, how can I add value, more value? My husband loves me. He chose me, didn't have to chase him. He came to me. No, but my husband came to me, and so clearly there's a love and a deep sense of gratitude and a deep connection between us. We've gone through things. There's a whole nother story to tell about how incredible this man is and how he was played a prominent role in my healing journey. But in addition to that, I have to realize, okay, well, what value do you add to this marriage? And not just monetarily, there's so many components that we can add value in so many areas, but I just see life a little different. I like to step back and look at the big picture. Are you adding or taking away? Are you enhancing or decreasing? Are you assisting your husband in this area, in whatever area it is? And I'm looking at every single area. Now, clearly there's some areas that I am still working on. I do better in some areas than others, But at the end of the day, as the wife, it was me saying, I committed to this man forever until death do us part. So with that in mind, how can I show up and be the absolute best version, the best wife that he could have ever asked for? What does that look like? And I'm going beyond, for some women, it's cooking and having food on the table every single night. For some women, that's not my story, right? Every woman is different. And I've gone through seasons where I was, just stay-at-home mom, homemaker, not much else going on. And so at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what season you are in or what your specific title is outside of wife. It's what am I doing to work on me, my inner issues, so that I can give that. I just feel like that's the best gift I can give to my husband. Work on Chante. It's going to be well for you in your soul, in your spirit, in your mind, within your emotions. You're going to feel real good about that, Chante. And as a wife, you'll be that refreshing glass of water that Bible scripture talks about.
Oh my goodness. Powerful, powerful, powerful. As a woman who has been in a marriage for 21 years and total opposites, definitely support in there. However, I also had to take a stand and say, we're together, but Nikki is still Nikki. Nikki still has something to give. Nikki still has a purpose here on earth. And I have to deliver and I won't stop delivering. That doesn't minimize the amount of love I have for us, for our
Mhm.
marriage, for our family. It's just going to enhance us. It's going to
Yeah.
amplify our lifestyle in a way where I can be the best version of myself, right? So I love that you said that. Shout it out again. If you guys have been really paying attention to this episode, I think you need to rewind, watch again, probably more than once, because Chante has been dropping some absolute gems about just the mindset, the thought process of things that we go through every day. And again, it doesn't have to be sexual trauma. It can be so many other things like these concepts, these tools can be injected in every part of your life that's blocking you from moving forward. So Chantel, tell us the name of your nonprofit. Also, how can we get a hold of you? What do you have going on? Share, share, share.
So my nonprofit, it ceased during that pandemic. But here's the deal. Again, I don't stop. It's going to manifest in a different, on a different platform. So the nonprofit no longer exists. What I put all of my energy into now is offering those coaching services through the EQ Wives Coaching Program. It's an 8-week program. There's so many other benefits and perks that wives can, get connected to by going through this program. And at the end of the day, it's really for that woman, that wife who knows that whatever you see on the surface, okay, that's great. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, but she's beyond that at this point. She knows in her heart, I'm tired of arguing. I'm tired of suppressing. I'm tired of feeling stuck. And sometimes we feel stuck in our marriage. And we didn't address this much, but sometimes, there are some major issues with our husbands. Even in that first step should always be working on ourselves. And so it's really for that wife who's saying, I'm ready. I know that there needs to be a change. I just don't really know how to experience that type of change. And so EQ Wives works that woman through that process, and it's very fine-tuned and curtailed to whatever is going on in her life. I don't dump a lot of information and say, here you go, here's that perfect formula, apply it, fix it, and keep it moving. No, like we're going to go deep into what's really going on in her world and use the different tools and techniques to ensure that she's able to move forward and thrive internally. And then she'll experience that type of thriving component in her marriage. Another part of what I absolutely love, and I can't let this part of it go, is just the business and the corporate components of it. I do a lot of workshops with Blue EQ, and also provide various workshops just through my own services. And this is how it works. When you put yourself out there, they come calling. they come. My husband is he works with another shout out, UGA, Small Business Development Center, and so they're different individuals that I connect with through what he does. And I'm able to have those basic types of conversations or coaching sessions or workshops where we are talking about how to communicate, because that's a big deal. It's a game changer. As a leader, we need to understand how to communicate. And also we talk about incorporating the resilience and mindfulness. It's all about our mindset. So those are other, side services that are made available. Easy enough to connect with me at chantedent.com. And that's where you can find all of the outlets, the programs that are made available. And I would love to connect with you. I just get excited about people who are ready to succeed in their personal and professional worlds. Let's go.
Yes, I love it. Well, thank you so much, Chante. You have been an absolute joy here to interview, to chat with. This is definitely not the end. We're going to continue to stay connected and see what we can do as well. I absolutely love your journey, your mission. And I just want to say thank you so much for being obedient to what God has put on your heart through this journey, right? And we're still growing, right? There's still more to do,
always
still more to learn.
Yes.
We're always a student. Thank you again. I'm going to give you the last few minutes to share with our listeners and our audience just what do you want to leave them with?
Sure. Well, Nikki, first I have to say thank you. Thank you for giving God your yes and creating this platform. It's been a pleasure to connect with you. And I too looking forward to further collaborations. My parting words to individuals would be the same words that I keep embedded in my heart. It's my life's motto. And it's all about healing emotionally, loving earnestly, and living freely. I think what keeps me grounded is those that term and the key questions, especially, you know, when life is good, right? We're not thinking about much. But I stay grounded because I know that there will be bumps in the road. There will be valley experiences. So it's embedded in my mind. And I'm going to pass this on to you. When you run up against a conflicting situation or experience, a person, all the difficulties that manifest in life, I would encourage you to ask yourself the key questions. How can I live? How can I heal emotionally? Whatever that situation is, how can I heal emotionally? And how can I love earnestly? Meaning, how can I continue to love myself and not beat myself up over the head because I made a mistake or I experienced a failure? How can I ensure that I'm still positioned to receive love from other people?
Mm.
And how can I make sure I keep my heart open to give love? So how do I heal emotionally? How do I love earnestly? And finally, how can I live freely, continue to live freely from this situation, from this experience? When I present those key questions, even if I don't have the answers immediately, I know that in the end, what's that? Everything's going to be all right. Now, I like everything's going to be all right. Everything's going to be all right.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for those powerful closing words. And it's just the beginning. We can open that door, connect with Chante,
Yeah.
continue to listen in to building a leadership mindset where we bring you amazing people just like you and me that's changing the world and that is living in their purpose on purpose. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. I'm your girl, Nikki C, and have a great day. As I always say, make it count. Bye, guys.